All right, well, thank you everyone for joining our Data Logger Basics webinar on building performance monitoring. We'll give it just a few more seconds to allow any last minute registries to sign on. Okay, well, let's get started with the webinar today. Again, this webinar is selecting and deploying Hobo data loggers for building monitoring performance. And I will be your presenter today. My name is Shannon Ryerson. I am a technical sales representative here at Onset. I specialize in data logger selection as well as application support. And my primary market is building performance monitoring. Just a few housekeeping notes on the webinar today. The webinar is expected to run for approximately 50 minutes. We will save about 20 minutes at the end to answer any questions you may have. You can type your questions into the question section of the control pane. And also this webinar is being recorded, so we will send out a link in a follow-up email. Just a little bit about Onset. We are the sole manufacturers of the Hobo data loggers. Our main focus is on data logging and monitoring. We were founded in 1981, which means we are celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. Our facility, which is pictured here, is located in Bourne, Massachusetts on beautiful Cape Cod. This facility houses our production team, manufacturing, sales, marketing, upper management. We are a lean manufacturing operation, and we are also ISO 9000 2015 certified. So just an overview on what the webinar will cover today. What is a data logger? What are some common uses for data loggers? What are some indoor measurements you could take with our data loggers? Data access options. Why use data loggers? We'll also answer some application questions that were submitted prior to the webinar. And then again, we'll save some time at the end to answer any questions you had from during the webinar. So before we get started, I'd like to get a feel for who has experience with data loggers. So we would like to start with a poll question. Let's get started. Caitlin, if you don't mind queuing up our first poll question. All right, well, looks like we have a good mix in attendance today. Most of you are Hobo data logger users, so we certainly appreciate that. Looks like we have a small percentage that uses other types of data loggers, and some of you who are completely new to data loggers. So hopefully from this presentation, there'll be some takeaways for everyone. All right, so what is a data logger? A data logger is an electronic instrument that records measurements at set intervals over a period of time. Typically, these are compact battery-powered devices equipped with an internal microprocessor, data storage, and one or more sensors. Data loggers, and specifically the Hobo data loggers, can be deployed in indoor, outdoor, or underwater environments. And these can record data for up to years at a time, typically unattended. So Onset offers two different types of data loggers, and those are interval and state data loggers. Interval data loggers read the input at a selected sample time and store these readings in its internal memory. It records at an interval whether or not that data value has changed. And the data can be recorded in any value, 53, 19.5, 60%, that can be representative of, 50 amps, 50 PSI, et cetera, et cetera. State data loggers work a little differently. They actually will check the state of the input at every second, and then the logger will record when that state changes, and it will give you a time and date to when that event occurred. There are two states with these data loggers, and that is 0 and 1. State data loggers can also record pulses from external sensors that output a pulse signal. And here is an example of what two different data files will look like from our interval data loggers versus our state data loggers. As you can see with the interval data logger, it will mark each time that it took that measurement from 0 up to the 2.5 volts representative in this graph. With a state data logger, it's just giving you a 0 and 1 in recording when those events or state changes happened. This slide's showing us the different types of measurements that you can take with our data loggers. And this is more geared towards indoor building performance. So for environment, we offer temperature, relative humidity, VOCs, CO2, air velocity, etc. For energy, we offer plug load loggers, kilowatt hour monitoring data loggers, sensors and loggers to record amps, volts, power factor, VAR, voltage and current, pressure, 4 to 20 milliamp signals, DC voltage signals, pulse signals, as well as tilt and acceleration. For our time of use data loggers, we have several different options for light on and off, motor on and off, state change data loggers, as well as occupancy and light data loggers. So here are some common uses for where our data loggers can be deployed. Essentially, our data loggers can be used in a broad range of indoor, outdoor, underwater, and temperature-controlled environments. Essentially, you can deploy these anywhere where data is needed and the convenience of battery power is preferred. So for example, on this diagram, we're showing one of our temp and relative humidity data loggers could potentially be deployed in a hospital to verify thermal comfort for patient rooms. We also offer occupancy light data loggers if you need to verify, your automatic lights, say in a conference room, are coming on and off at a set schedule. A lot of days, there's automated light systems where when someone comes into the room, the light automatically comes on, and if there's no activity for X amount of time, the light will automatically go off. Our occupancy and light data logger is a great data logger to confirm that your system's working properly. We also offer indoor CO2, temperature and relative humidity monitoring data loggers, which may be beneficial in a factory or warehousing section application. Also for factory monitoring, we have water temperature and light data loggers. So if you work in a production facility where you're discharging treated water and you need to verify that the water you're putting back into the stream or body of water is within an acceptable temperature range, we have solutions available for that. We also have remote monitoring systems for monitoring field conditions, temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, solar radiation, rainfall, etc. Also, we have several different options for water level data logging, which could be beneficial for monitoring water level in retention ponds from storm runoff, things of that nature. So why use Hobo data loggers? Our data loggers are fast and easy to deploy. We offer a wide range of measurements for our data loggers. They are what we like to call toolbox portability, meaning they're small enough to fit right inside your toolbox. And really nowadays we have quite a few data loggers that are small enough to fit right into your pockets. We give flexible access to that data. And also we have a very responsive product delivery and tech support team. And one of the biggest factors is that we offer highly accurate devices at a cost-effective solution. So how do you use a data logger? It's really 5 easy steps. You simply download and install our software or app on a mobile device or laptop. From there, you connect the data logger to launch its parameters. That would be setting its logging interval, taking a reading once a minute, once every 5 minutes, once every 15 minutes, when you want the data logger to start recording, when you want it to stop, what to do when the memory fills up, things of that nature. At that point, you place it in its desired location and let it record data for a set period of time. At the end of its deployment, you simply reconnect it back to the computer or your mobile device and offload the data. And then from there, you can use our software for doing your data readouts and data analysis. So Onset offers a few different options for accessing your data, and that's USB, Bluetooth, and web-based applications. Our Bluetooth data loggers are also part of a remote monitoring solution as well, which we'll touch base on in a little bit. The USB data loggers, they are designed for short-term trending logging with a manual offload. Our Bluetooth data loggers, you simply download a free app to a mobile device, and as long as you get within 100 feet line of sight range, you'll be able to connect to that data logger to do your configuration and data offload. And with our web-based applications, all this information is pushed up to a cloud-based platform with either an internet or cellular connection. So let's start with our USB data loggers. When using a USB data logger, you simply connect it to a computer or laptop with a USB cable, running our Hoboware software to do your configuration and then launch the logger. From there, you will put it in its deployment site and let it record its data. At the end of recording the data, you simply reconnect it back to a computer running our Hoboware software to offload the data from the logger. And then from there, you'll be able to process and analyze your data within our software, as well as present the data with presentation grade graphs and charts. And here are some of our common USB data loggers. We have some temperature and relative humidity data loggers that offer relative humidity readings within 2.5% plus or minus on accuracy. These again are common for putting in warehouses, server rooms, museums. We also offer a plug load data logger, which is a very convenient way to verify energy consumption of equipment, vending machines, office equipment, such as a power strip maybe under someone's desk. You can plug this in line and it will show you how much energy they are consuming. Again, we also have state data loggers that you can either connect to a relay or some other type of electronic switch or contact closure, and it will give you when those switches have opened or closed. Again, we also have occupancy and light data loggers, which those will give you two different readings. It will tell you when there was people in the room and also if that light was on or off. And lastly, one of our other popular data loggers is our 4-channel thermocouple data logger. It accepts all types of thermocouple sensors that you can connect to it as long as they come, as long as you're using sub-miniature connectors with those. And here are just some examples of our data loggers in action. Again, up in the top left-hand corner is one of our thermocouple data loggers with our sub-miniature thermocouple sensors connected to it. These are ideal if you need to monitor either very high or very low temperatures, such as in autoclaves. It's also ideal for concrete curing, just for the fact that after the concrete's done curing, simply cut off the end of the wire, resolder it, and now you can move on to the next project. We also have temperature and relative humidity data loggers with external sensors on it, where you could use those to place in environmental chambers to track temperature and relative humidity. Again, in the bottom left-hand corner is showing one of our occupancy light data loggers, which again, ideal for conference rooms if they are on automatic light schedules or anything like that. And lastly, in the bottom right-hand corner is an example of our motor on and off data logger. You simply stick it to the casing of an electrical motor, and this data logger, once it detects that AC magnetic field, it'll be able to give you runtime of that motor as well as on and off status. This becomes very useful if you're trying to do any type of air compressor audits, see how often your air compressor is kicking on and off, or really any type of device that has, or piece of equipment that has an electric motor on it. So the next option we will go over is our Bluetooth data loggers. With our Bluetooth data loggers, you just simply download our free Hobo Connect app, which is available in the Google Play or iTunes App Store. And as long as you get within 100 feet line of sight range, you'll be able to connect to the data logger to do your configuration and data offload process. The The app itself does give you a graphical readout feature, and also we had released a new feature on it where you can connect to the data logger while it's recording and actually see that data streaming into the app in real time. Well, it's not recording that data in real time. It's good if you just need to have some visual confirmation that the data is being recorded and the logger is in an operational status. And here are just some screenshots from the app itself. Once you open up the app, any data logger that is within the 100 feet line of sight range, you'll be able to tap on to configure. Once you connect to the data logger, you'll be able to go through its configuration process, do a readout of it, see full status details, and also if for some reason you're within range of the logger but you can't find it, we have a nice page logger option on it where the logger will either flash or if it does have an audible alarm, it will beep to help you locate where the logger is. We also, again, have a graphical feature on there where you will be able to see the data that it recorded in live graph form within the app. You can also export that data file or that graphical file out as an image. And then lastly, you have the ability to share these data files. They can be exported as either an XLS file, a CSV file, a plain text file, or a Hobo file. For those of you who are familiar with Hobo data loggers, the Hobo file will allow you to import it right into our HoboWare software to do your plotting and analysis. Another feature I'd like to bring up within the app is that if you do create a free HoboLink account, there is a setting within the app where you can have that data automatically pushed up to your HoboLink account. And anyone who has the credentials to log into your HoboLink account will be able to go in there and access that data to download it. While you won't be able to see that data in real time within HoboLink, it does give you the ability to use HoboLink as a cloud storage platform. And here are just some examples of our Bluetooth low energy, or what we refer to as BLE data loggers. The top left-hand corner is probably one of our most popular data loggers. This is the MX1101 temperature and relative humidity data logger. It does have an accuracy of 2.5% on the relative humidity sensor and 0.38 degrees plus or minus on the temperature sensor. It does use a CR2032 battery, which is user replaceable, and you'll get about a year's life out of the battery before you need to replace it. Top right-hand corner is one of our MX100 data loggers. These go for $45. It does a temperature-only reading. This particular data logger does not have a user replaceable battery, but you will get about 2 years life out of that battery before it would die. Bottom left-hand corner is one of our pendant data loggers. While this was originally designed as a water data logger, it is waterproof up to 100 feet. We have a lot of clients who use this as a cost-effective solution for doing temperature monitoring as well as light level monitoring. Popular application is actually within museum settings if you want something small and discreet and you need to confirm what the temperature or light levels are on, an exhibit case or artifact or something like that. And lastly, in the bottom right-hand corner is our MX1102A carbon dioxide temperature and relative humidity data logger. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the COVID restrictions that are out there, and this is actually a great data logger to verify that your HVAC systems are circulating air as needed. I believe with COVID regulations for school openings, I believe it was about 3 circulations per hour that the HVAC system needs to do. So this is a very cost-effective method for verifying that. And then this is one of our more unique loggers for the fact that while it is Bluetooth, there is actually a USB port on it, which would allow you to connect to a computer through that USB cable running our HoboWare software to do your configuration and data offload. And we also do sell a power supply for it that you could connect in for long-term deployment. So you wouldn't have to necessarily be reliant on the batteries. One nice feature with that is it can run off of that AC power, and if for some reason your facility was to lose power, the data logger will still continue to record using that battery backup. And next, we have 2 of our newest additions to our MX1100 product line, and that's the MX1104 Bluetooth temperature, relative humidity, light, and analog data logger, as well as our MX1105 4-channel analog data logger. For you past Hobo users, the MX1105, you can essentially think of that as a Bluetooth version of our UX120-006M. One nice features about both of these data loggers is that they are compatible with the existing U or UX sensors. We offer a wide variety of measurements and different sensors that you can connect to this data logger. It has an improved casing, which has a splash-proof design with an IP54 rating. These data loggers can store up to 1.9 million measurements before the memory fills up on it. And lastly, they run on two AAA batteries, which at 1 minute or greater logging intervals, you should get about a year's life out of those batteries before you need to replace them. The MX1104 has actually become one of our more popular data loggers, specifically within museums and preservation houses. One of the biggest asks was always something that can record temperature, relative humidity, and light. So for that, we have an all-in-one data logger for that purpose. With these being Bluetooth, again, if you're placing them in exhibit cases or anything, you just simply need to get within that 100 feet line of sight range to connect to it. So no need to go in, open up the case, pull the logger out, offload the data, and then put it back in. And here are some more of the measurements that we can take with our MX1100 series data loggers, and again, the 1104 or 1105. We have external temperature, relative humidity, dew point, light sensors, AC current sensors, voltage, absolute pressure or gauge pressure, air velocity, compressed airflow, differential pressure, as well as 4 to 20 milliamps. One of the benefits actually to our DC voltage and 4 to 20 milliamp cables is that it allows you to connect a variety of sensors to ONSYS data loggers that we may not offer. So again, as long as the sensor outputs a 4 to 20 milliamp signal or some type of DC voltage, 0 to 2.5, 0 to 5, 0 to 10, 0 to 24 DC voltage, you simply connect that sensor to the data logger, set up the scaling for it, and now you'll be able to use that sensor with our data logger. Another improvement to our MX1100 series data loggers is that we do have self-describing sensors for these now. And basically what that means is we have electronics that we built into the sensor. So when you plug it into the data logger and connect to the data logger through the app, the data logger is going to automatically recognize what type of sensor that is. So whether it's a temperature sensor, one of our food-grade stainless steel sensors, current sensor, voltage sensor. It's basically just some time-saving steps during the configuration process. We also have now added a locking mechanism to these sensors where once you plug the cable into it, you basically give it a quarter turn, then it's locked into place, alleviating it any issues with the cable accidentally getting pulled out or slipping out. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, our Bluetooth data loggers can be part of a remote monitoring solution, and that would be with the incorporation of our MX Gateway. The MX Gateway will give you real-time data to your Hobo Link dashboard. Again, any data loggers that within 100 feet line of sight range will be able to connect to a single gateway, and up to 100 data loggers can connect to a single gateway. From there, you do have the ability to set up remote alarm notifications. So if a data logger goes out of range on an alarm you had set for a sensor, if there's low battery, a logger for some reason stopped logging or went missing, you can receive text messages or emails letting you know that there has been an issue. The gateway itself can be powered through two options with either the AC power supply or power over Ethernet. And it can also connect to the web with either a Wi-Fi or Ethernet connection. And also they are compatible with all MX style or series data loggers. So regardless if it's our indoor MX series or outdoor MX series, any of those would work with this gateway. Lastly, we will go over our web-based remote monitoring stations, and that would specifically be our RX product line. Our RX stations basically provide remote access to site-specific environmental data anywhere, anytime through the internet. Again, all this data is pushed up to our cloud-based platform, Hobo, so you will be able to access this data from any device that has a web browser, tablet, laptop, computer, things of that nature. This does give you 24/7 web access to your data with the built-in web browsers. You can verify the status of your RX units remotely through HoboLink, to see that it's running, see if there's been any alarms, logging intervals, setting up, managing alarm notifications right over the web. And also within HoboLink, we give you the ability to set up automated data delivery. So for example, if you wanted to receive a report every Friday, for data that these stations had collected for the past week, you can set that automatic data delivery up, and it will send out an email in either a CSV or XLS file format, and you get to choose either one of those. Again, these do send out alarm notifications via text or email. So if you do set up, high and low threshold for your temperatures, if there's ever an excursion, you will get that notification instantaneously. And by instantaneously, it usually takes a couple of minutes because once that alarm's been triggered, the sensor makes a call back to the station, and then in turn, HoboLink will send out that text or email. With our stations, they can be configured to connect to the cloud either through a cellular connection, Wi-Fi, or Ethernet connection. So using our web-based systems, we do have our HoboNet wireless network. This wireless network, mesh network technology allows you about 1,500 feet line of sight range from wireless sensor to the RX unit. This is scalable, and you can connect up to 50 wireless sensors to a single RX unit. You do have remote access to the data with the current conditions of the sensors with either the overview section within HoboLink, or you can set up customizable dashboards for data analysis. And again, you do have the ability to set alarm notifications on any of the channels, on any of the sensors, and those will be sent out once we reach those user set thresholds. And here is an example of a HoboLink dashboard. One nice feature about HoboLink is regardless if you're using our RX stations or our MX with gateway with Bluetooth data loggers, you can have all that same information populate into your HoboLink account. And then from there, you can set up dashboards where, there might be some specific sensors or data loggers for multiple areas that you want to see populated in one area. You can actually pick and choose sensors and data and have them apply to the dashboard. And we have a whole suite of widgets that you can choose for that. And basically what a widget is just a graphical representation of that data. So we have line graph, thermometers, pedometers, bar graphs. You also have the ability just to create latest conditions, which it will give you the time and date stamp and what the measurement was and what that channel is from that particular data logger. Which makes it very convenient, especially if you run a facility or if you work with an organization where you may have multiple facilities over the country or even over the world. You can have all of those stations information show up on one page, which makes it gives you a little bit easier access to reviewing that data and seeing what's going on at each of those locations. Another nice feature to HoboLink is we do have a map view section on it, which I'm not sure if many people are aware of that. And within the map view, basically what it is an image taken from Google Maps. And from there, you have the ability to place where you have your sensors deployed within your facility. Within the map view, which I find very useful and helpful, is the fact that it shows you on each of the sensors what its current reading is or what its reading was at the last time that it had connected to HoboLink. So really quick, easy way just to take a quick overview of what's going on within your facility. This is a still image, but if you were actually on your HoboLink account page and you hover over the map or over one of the sensors on the map, it'll also show you what the signal strength is from that data logger, as well as what the battery level is for that particular sensor. And with that, we would like to open up another poll question. And Caitlin, if you don't mind queuing that up for me. Excellent. Well, looks like predominantly most of our attendees here are focused on indoor air quality and HVAC. That comes in at 40%. Next is energy projects, which came in at 34%. And I do see some of our preservation and museum attendees out there. Great. So it looks like, again, we have a good mix of attendees here today. So with that, as I mentioned, we're going to take a little bit different approach to this webinar. You did submit some questions ahead of the webinar today, and I did want to go through and answer some of the ones that I felt like weren't necessarily project specific, but would kind of give a generalized information that would be more generalized to a wider audience. So we did have a question about the difference between our Bluetooth system as well as our RX remote monitoring station and the HoboNet wireless sensors. Our Bluetooth systems use what we call a star network. So essentially, it's a Bluetooth data logger where all the information gets located or gets sent back to one gateway. With this type of setup, the gateway does need to be centrally located, and any data logger within 100 feet line of sight range will be able to transmit that data back to the gateway, and in turn, the gateway pushes that information up to HoboLink. Whereas our HoboNet wireless sensors use what we call a self-healing mesh network. Here in the US, they actually operate on the 900 megahertz radio band. And with it being self-healing mesh network, what that means is the signals can actually, if you have a sensor that's out of range or out of sight from the RX unit, it can actually pass its signal through other sensors in line, making up to 5 hops to get that signal back to the RX unit. This becomes ideal for larger facilities such as larger warehouses or multi-floor buildings, or, you know, again, really in like outdoor agricultural settings where you're trying to monitor large fields. While the station should be centrally located, it doesn't necessarily have to. And again, that's because the sensors will also act as repeaters as well. Another question that we had pop up was any tips for monitoring conditions in crawl spaces and attics, specifically the number of data loggers and where to place them. And again, data logger placement in residential homes for best results. Typically, for most residential homes, you really only need one data logger per space. But really, it depends on, you know, the layout of the space and what you're trying to accomplish. Our data loggers, we say they can typically cover about 2,500 square feet of open space. And in this illustration you're seeing here, I would probably recommend using one data logger per space. For some placement methods, we always recommend placing the data logger right at the thermostat, especially if you're trying to verify the operations of your HVAC system. Placing it at the thermostat, obviously, that's what's going to be triggering your heating or cooling system to kick on. So that's the best place to take the measurement. Obviously, you can always dive a little bit deeper in to your data analysis. And there's many areas where you may be getting leaking from the house. That could be through letterbox openings. Maybe the weatherproofing around your window isn't up to par anymore, and you're getting cold air coming through that. Keyholes, drilled holes for plumb work going to either the kitchen, bathroom. So if you really want to dive in deep to your data analysis, or what's causing your house to be either too hot or too cold, you could really go around and place it in any of these areas that's listed in those bullet points to really get a good idea, where you're getting the cold air or hot air leaking in from. And again, this is just a follow-up question about the 2,500 square foot. And it's, how does the 2,500 square foot suggestion get applied to office spaces or larger facilities? Well, in an office space such as in this example, where the space is wide open, and you can see the ceiling, vents, and windows, at a minimum, you should probably place a data logger at the thermostat again, just to get an idea of, what your thermostat's reading versus what the actual temperature is reading. That would be at a bare minimum. But really, if you have any employees or coworkers who are complaining about it being too hot or too cold, you can always place a data logger right by there and see what's going on. Obviously, if you're sitting underneath an HVAC vent, you could be having hot air or cold air blown on you constantly, which could affect your thermal comfort. One example I always like to talk about is one of my colleagues, Eileen, was always constantly complaining that she was cold because the air conditioned vents were blowing directly on her. And during the winter, her desk is on a cement floor and against an outside cement wall. So we actually did place a data logger by her desk and one by where our thermostat is. And we actually did see a 3 to 4 degree difference from the thermostat to the floor. So while we're able to confirm that there is definitely a temperature difference there from what the thermostat was reading versus, where she was sitting in our office. And again, if you have any other people who are complaining about it, you can always place something near there. But some key things that do affect temperature, is, are the windows open? Are they tinted? Are they treated? Is it allowing too much sunlight coming in and heating up one part of the building versus not the other? Things of that nature. So, you can really dive in deep to what's causing these thermal discomforts by just placing data loggers really around the whole facility to get a better idea or better representation of what's going on in the different areas. And here, just to follow up on that last statement, again, here's an office space where it's not a big wide open space. You have several partitions up, glass walls, glass doors. This gets a little bit different, a little trickier for doing your monitoring, because now with it not being a wide open space, more than likely you're going to have to place several data loggers around this area, probably one in each of the glass in offices. And then maybe again by the thermostat and also by where any of your HVAC vents are. It's always a good idea to locate where exactly those are as well before deploying. But some other things that can affect temperature or thermal comfort is, do you have the sun hitting one part of the building, but it's not hitting the other part of the building? Is one side of your building blocked in by other adjoining buildings where the other side is directly wide open and allowing for more sunlight to come through? Really, there's a lot of different variables that can affect your temperature and relative humidity from one side of the building to the other. All right, so then we had another question come in that was how to best log in air quality information, sampling, and data dumping. This particular client wanted to send preset data loggers to customers and wanted to know what the best process for that was. Well, with our data loggers, you can actually go ahead and set them up beforehand by setting the logging interval and setting maybe any alarms per channel. And then you can also use our delayed time and date start and stop feature, or you do have the ability to set a push button start or push button stop with our USB and some of our Bluetooth data loggers. Also, for when you need your client to send it back, they can simply just send the data logger back to you that's still running. And once you get it back, you can offload the data and then just crop out any of that useless information that was in there. If these are for long-term deployments, we do offer a USB shuttle for our USB data loggers, where once you offload the data to that shuttle, it will automatically restart it with the same exact settings on it. And another benefit to our Bluetooth data loggers is that, again, the Hobo Connect app is free. You can simply have your client download that free app to their mobile device. They can offload the data from there. And then within that app, you can either have it pushed up to your HoboLink account, or you can export that data file out of the app as a CSV or XLS file, and then just email that data file back to you. So a few different options depending on which method you want to go with. All right, then we had another question come in about interested in sensors that monitor both inside and outside conditions for use in automated controls, including wind, rain, etc. And do we have any instruments that we could use for monitoring the big concrete dams? Actually, Onset has a wide variety of data loggers for both indoor, outdoor, and underwater applications. So you could, for this particular situation, we have weatherproof Bluetooth data loggers you could deploy outside to get your outdoor temp and RH reading, and then some of our indoor data loggers for taking those indoor temperature and relative humidity readings. And again, here's an illustration of just one of our Bluetooth standalone data loggers. Here is one of our weather station kits, which again, we have a whole suite of sensors for monitoring wind speed, wind direction, temperature, relative humidity, barometric pressure, rainfall, soil temperature, soil moisture, really any type of measurement you would want to take. We probably have a sensor for it. And then also we do have water quality data loggers for monitoring water temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, conductivity, salinity, things of that nature. All right, and then we had a question about best practices for connecting current sensors or other sensors to air compressors for HVAC, and how to apply these data loggers to industrial machinery, and also looking to monitor production equipment's uptime and downtime. The most common data loggers for these are really our UX120006M, or the new Bluetooth version of this data logger, which would be the MX1105 with our current transformers, as well as one of our UX90 motor on and off data loggers or state data loggers. Again, you can use the UX120 or MX1105 to monitor the current from that specific piece of equipment, as well as take several different temperature readings. So, you may want to take a temperature reading on your supply air, your return air, as well as the mixed air. You can strap one of our split core CTs around a current carrying lead going to your blow motor just to verify the amp reading of it. And then also, you can deploy one of our UX90 motor on and off data loggers to the HVAC or compressor motor to verify how often that motor has been kicking on, and also what its total runtime was during its deployment. All right, and then we had another application regarding monitoring power, and you wanted to know what is the most affordable solution for long-term, 1 year more hourly trending of data logger of power data, as well as which logger is best to get email alerts when demand power, kilowatts, kilowatt hours, kVA reaches a certain threshold. We actually have two options for that. The first option would be our kilowatt hours monitoring kit. And this basically consists of a watt node with voltage leads and split core CTs depending on what the amp rating is of the circuit or subpanel that you're trying to monitor. You can have this device connect to one of our state data loggers, or if you needed that email or text alert when your demand got too high, you can connect this to either of our RX remote monitoring stations through a pulse input adapter. And once that kilowatt hours reaches a certain threshold, you would receive that notification via text or email letting you know it's gone now outside of your parameter. And again, this data does get pushed to our Hobo Link cloud-based platform. So you would be able to view your data there, and that's where you would go to set up your remote alarm notifications. Another option that we have is our EG4100 series energy data loggers. These are offered in both a 15 input and 30 input model. They can record single phase, split phase, 3-phase, and really these will take any type of power reading that you want it to. So volt, amp, watt hours, watts, hertz, volt amp reactive, power factor, things in that of that nature. And these are really great devices if you're doing any type of sub-metering at large facilities. And actually, if everyone has a few seconds, what I would like to do is we actually have an e-gauge set up at our facility. And I did want to show you one nice feature about this, and it's the fact that this device does have a built-in web server on it. So each of these devices do come with a unique URL address. You simply would type that in to a web browser, and as long as the EG4100 series is connected via an Ethernet or USB to Wi-Fi adapter, you'll be able to remotely access that data. And yes, so here we go. So this is the EG meter that we have set up at our onset facility right now. As you can see, we have quite a few different parameters set up for here that we're monitoring. And you can go through and either select all these or unselect ones, or just view certain channels or certain circuits, or really whatever type of information you're trying to look here. Not only will it show you power used, but if you have like at our facility, we have some PV panels up on our roof. You can actually see how much energy is being generated from those panels. With this system, you also do have the ability to set up remote notifications, and that's simply done right within the settings. We have a little alerts tab here where you can go in and set predefined thresholds, and if it was to exceed that, you can either get an SMS text message or an email sent out to you letting you know that there has been an excursion outside of those defined parameters. All right, and next we had a question come in, which I felt this one was beneficial just due to it seems like the water crisis that we're experiencing out west as well as in the Midwest. We are facing higher water consumption in some of our schools and need support. What can we do? Well, for that, we actually have a very simple and cost-effective solution, and that is a third-party sensor we sell by Minol, and it is basically just a standard water meter that you would see, inside a house or a building. This particular data logger, this particular sensor outputs pulses that are representative of gallons used. It's designed for use on 3/4-inch pipes, but there is step up or step downs to use with 1-inch or 1/2-inch pipes. You can simply connect this to one of our UX90001 state or pulse data loggers, or if you needed remote access to this data, you can connect it to either of our RX remote monitoring stations through the pulse input adapter. For this one, we also have wired pulse input adapters, or we also have wireless pulse input adapters. If for some reason, the RX unit couldn't be in close proximity to where you're taking this water level measurement. So again, simple, cost-effective solution for being able to monitor your water consumption. Lastly, we had, I shouldn't say lastly, but next we had a question about someone wanting to monitor differential pressure within trend rooms and also needed to take temperature measurements with that. With that, we actually have a differential pressure sensor that you can connect to our MX1104 or MX1105. With the MX1104, again, that does have a built-in temperature, relative humidity, and light sensor, so you could get your temperature reading with that. And then connect the differential pressure sensor through that analog channel. This sensor does require excitation power, so you would need to purchase the optional AC power adapter for it. For our USB style data loggers, you could simply use the UX120006M with our 0 to 5 DC voltage input adapter cable, as well as the AC power supply. And lastly, if you needed remote access to this data, you could use our RX3000, purchase the optional analog module for that. With that analog module, that is able to supply excitation power to the sensor. So no need to run external power to the sensor. The internal battery of the RX will power that sensor. When using our RX units indoors, you do have the ability to connect them to AC power to keep that internal battery trickle charged. And then if there ever is a power failure at your facility, the data log will still be continue to record on that battery backup power. And again, for the temperature reading here, you can just connect any compatible temperature sensor to any of the data loggers or remote monitoring stations I had previously mentioned. All right, and then I have older models of your data loggers. Why should I consider upgrading? Well, everyone knows the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And while we do pride ourselves on the longevity of our devices, and happy to hear that they're probably still maintaining their accuracy, a lot of our newer data loggers just kind of give you more convenience factors to them. Again, with our new Bluetooth data loggers, instead of having to remove it from its deployment site, you can just simply connect to it through the mobile app to do your configuration and data offload. A lot of our newer data loggers are a little bit more accurate and also have larger memories, so you're able to deploy them for longer times before you need to offload the data from them. And also we have quite a few options on how to receive your data for remote alarms and also for out of range conditions. And I think that covers all the questions we're going to answer that were submitted prior to the webinar. But at this point, what I would like to do is open up to our attendees and see if there's any particular questions you'd like to have answered now. All right, and let me just pop this out to take a look through our questions section here. Okay. Okay, looks like someone had a question about which data loggers can be password protected. Our Bluetooth data loggers, so anyone who has the Hobo Connect app would actually be able to access our Bluetooth data loggers, but you do have the ability to set up a passkey on it. So whatever mobile device had set that passkey, they don't need to input that each time they go to connect to that data logger. But anyone else who's using their mobile device to connect to that logger, they would need to input that passkey in order to connect to it. So yeah, really it's only our Bluetooth data loggers that would have passkey protection. Our remote monitoring stations that push their data to HoboLink, HoboLink, in order to access and get full control of it, you would need to use your username and password for the login credentials to gain full access. One nice feature within HoboLink is you do have the ability to supply a public URL. And actually, let me pull this up real quick as well, just to demonstrate. Yeah, that's right back here. So under the user settings, we have a section called public access. If you click on this, this gives you a unique URL address. And what that does is it allows limited access to your HoboLink account. So while those users who use that link would be able to view your data, export data, stuff like that, they can't go in and make any changes to the settings in here. And here's actually an example of my home weather station I have set up here. I have a handful of our smart sensors connected to it, as well as some temperature and relative wireless sensors, wind speed direction, solar radiation, things in that nature. Also, here's an example of the graphical readouts you have within HoboLink, where you can view data for the past day, past week, or past month. The blue section that you're looking at here on my temperature sensor, I do have a frost setting set up on here, so it is showing between, looks like about 2:30 till just after 8 o'clock. We were definitely down in the freezing area last night, so I feel bad for my tomato plants that I had left out there. All right, and let's see if we can pull up a couple other questions here. Okay. Okay, looks like we had one come in. After picking up the data logger, how do you stop the data collection in the field? That depends on what data logger you're using, but without Bluetooth data loggers, you can't stop the logger right through the app. So once you offload the data from it, or even before you offload the data from it, you can't just stop the logger right there. Once you offload the data from it, it does restart that memory on there. So you'll have a fresh set of memory for its next deployment. Okay, it looks like someone has a question on our MX1102A data logger. And looking for a comprehensive manual on that. We can certainly follow up with you later about that and answer any direct questions you have, but on all the product pages for our data loggers, right underneath the overview section, there is a set of tabs. This starts with features, followed by specifications, compatible items, documentations. If you click on the documentations tab, that will show you all the documents that we have available for that particular product. All right. All right. We had a question about MX1104 interval or state. That is an interval data logger, and it is Bluetooth. That can become part of a web-based application with the MX gateway that I had mentioned earlier. Okay, looks like we just had a question about who do I contact for quotes. Let me put this slide up real quick for you. All my direct contact information is on here, so please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of any assistance, or if you need quotations, I'd be more than happy to go over your application with you and help you pick the best data logger for your project. Someone asked about, is there a subscription fee to use HoboLink? No, HoboLink itself is a free service that we provide. The only time you'd run into subscription base is if you're using one of our RX units that communicate via cellular connection. We do have paid for service plans for those, depending on how many sensors you have connected to it, as well as how many, so how often you need that data transmitted up to the cloud. Looks like Jolene had a question about, can I get a copy of the slideshow? Absolutely, we will be sending out a copy of this recording in the follow-up email, and that will include the video of this presentation. All right, and let's see. Try to find another question here. Okay. What happens, oh, this is actually a good question because this applies to all of our data loggers. What happens to data if there is a connection failure? And I'm assuming you're talking about our remote monitoring solutions here, Michael. All of our data loggers have built-in memory on them, both the Bluetooth data loggers and our RX remote monitoring stations. So if for some reason, the RX station was to lose its connection, it will store that data locally, and it can store up to, I believe it's 1.6 or 1.9 million measurements on there. And once the connection's reestablished, it will do a batch upload of that data to the cloud, so you won't miss any data. With our Bluetooth data loggers, it works a little different. If for some reason the gateway was to go down, once that connection is reestablished, it doesn't do a batch upload. You'll just simply have to go over to the data logger and offload that data through the Hobo Connect app. Okay, it looks like, Gregor, you said you were having a hard time getting your MX1104 to connect to HoboWare. I'm not sure if you're trying to use HoboWare to connect to it to do the configuration and data offload. You would only use HoboWare for doing your data analysis. You need the Hobo Connect app to connect to the MX1104 to do the configuration and data offload. If you do have any issues or need further assistance, I do have OnSIT's technical support number and email address on there. Feel free to reach out to them. They'll be more than happy to assist you. They are available 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And with that being said, it's 3 o'clock on the dot here, so I think we're going to conclude this presentation. But again, I want to thank everyone for attending today. If you have any questions or concerns, again, all my contact information is on the slide here. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And with that being said, thank you for attending.